Roll Tide, everybody. Welcome to the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel with the catfish himself, Mr. Chad Anderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. And for the next, who knows, half hour, we're going to sit here and watch the college football playoff show where the committee gives us a snapshot of where things sit right now. We expect Alabama, who was in the mix last week, to remain in the mix. It's going to be interesting to see if Tennessee's out, Georgia's in. I don't see much of a shakeup in the top 4 or 5, maybe the top 6. So we'll get into all that here on the show. And obviously we talk about what Alabama needs to do to be in there. But before we do anything else, thanks for being part of what we're doing. Brought to you by New Life Art. Use the promo code Bama Tailgate to pimp out your man cave. I got mine pimped out. He's got his pimped out. 20% off at newlifeart.com using the promo code Bama Tailgate. You got to put it in that promo code section to get the discount, so don't forget that. All right, let's get this party started. All right, there he is, the catfish himself. I'm Mick Gillispie. Thanks for being here with us, guys, as we watch the college football ranking show come together, and we'll see where Alabama ends up in this. Would you be surprised if Alabama was on the outside looking in, catfish?
There'd be a mutiny if Alabama was on the outside.
We're tearing this place up.
Yeah, it would be something. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay whatever coin you want. You think the Timeout Sports Lounge at Pearl River will hook us up on that bet? Because I'd love to drop some on that one, Mick.
Right now, you're saying that you would be flabbergasted if
that's one way of putting it. Flummoxed. Flummoxed? Yeah.
How about I'm watching the next round the other day, and I hear Joel Klatt come on there. And this guy has Ole Miss as the top 2-loss SEC team, right?
Yeah.
Then Georgia, then Alabama, and I forget who he had after that. But I was like, is this guy for real? Like, didn't they lose at home to one SEC win, Kentucky? Didn't they lose to that crappy LSU team? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the toughest part of this whole gig, right? And we've never gotten a 100% direct, definitive answer.
Right.
And then the committee changes every 2 years.
Oh, I know.
So you got people coming and going all the time. I see what he's saying. Like Nick Saban said it right this minute today. Saban, and it sounds like Joel Klatt, think Ole Miss is the best team in the SEC. And maybe they are today. But that begs the question of, okay, if they are today, but does that mean they deserve to be ranked the highest of the SEC teams? Because like you said, they have the 2 worst losses.
Yeah, right.
2 losses combined are the worst. So which one is it? And that's what's been so subjective and hard to figure out with these committees is, Ole Miss is playing the best right now, probably. Alabama certainly has an argument for that. I actually didn't think Georgia looked that dominant over Tennessee. I didn't think they looked that good against Tennessee. They won the game, obviously, but it was closer than the 14-point outcome.
I thought so too. I thought Tennessee got the bad calls, just like we did when we played at Tennessee. Well, where you go back and you go, man, what the hell? Like some of those calls are just atrocious.
They were, but you know what?
But we didn't lose because of those, and they didn't either.
No, like Josh Heupel's such a little bitch. Like he whine anytime it doesn't go his way. He does nothing but cry about the officiating. That's all he does. He did it last year in Tuscaloosa. He did it this year in Athens. Like that's just what he does, and it gets old. Like that year, Bama lost 2 years ago in Knoxville. Did you ever see Nick Saban go on anywhere and talk about the officiating being the outcome? Did you ever see Saban go to a press conference and like turn the mic around for a reporter to keep asking the question about officiating?
Right.
Like, He just
No, I haven't. I haven't. I haven't seen that. No. I have not seen that. But you know what? The officiating's been bad all the way around. So, I'm not sitting here saying that it was great, but a couple calls go their way, and you know, it might have been a different outcome. Nonetheless, you've got the potential of 6. Is it 6 2-loss teams in the SEC?
Potentially, yes. Yeah.
All right. So when Texas and Texas A&M play, the thing about it is Texas is going to be clearly in the thing today. They lose to Texas A&M, they're out.
You think they're out?
I think they're out. They got Vanderbilt's their best win.
And
they
that's
won
where that's where Mick, like every week the committee, and sorry, I'm going back and forth on watching this here so we can make sure we bring it to you guys as it's happening. But every week the committee is supposed to start fresh, clean slate. Like what happened the week prior with the rankings, like where you were the week before has no bearing on where you are in the next week's rankings. It's supposed to be start fresh. But the problem is we all know that's not true, because then the president or the chair or the leader, whatever they call him, he has to go talk to Reese Davis and get drilled on why did Oregon fall from 1 to 2 when they're still undefeated? Why did Texas drop from 3 to 6? Right. You know, and they're never going to do that, unfortunately, because I think I look at this and I'm just like, man, you can't tell me that some of these teams, like this is the only thing a few of these teams have, and that's the eye test. And I'll give that to some of them. For example, Indiana, crap schedule. Absolute crap schedule.
You're telling me that you've got to play teams in the top 25 to have a good schedule?
They don't even have a team that has a vote for the top 25 in there.
Illinois just cracked the top 25. Did they play Illinois?
I don't believe Indiana has not played Illinois.
Okay. So
Indiana dodged Penn State, Oregon, and Illinois.
Hey, Missouri's still in the top 25, number 23.
And that's big for Alabama because Missouri lost at South Carolina, but it was such a close game and a good game. Yeah. And credit to the committee on that. Like, you shouldn't move them out because of that loss. Like, just because you lose doesn't mean you should tumble. Like, it was not a bad loss. They went on the road, played a close game, and had it until the very last, 20 seconds.
Yeah. How about Arizona State sneaking in there at 21? The Sun Devils, one of the best logos and mascots in college.
One thing that's going to be interesting, BYU just ruined the Big 12 because now the Big 12 is essentially a one-bid league. And BYU, by the way, goes on the road to Arizona State this Saturday. Sun Devils are 3 to 4 point favorites. Sun Devils win that game. There's Tulane at 20. Sun Devils win that game. Now everybody in the Big 12 has 2 losses. And you're going to end up in a spot where, hey, only the conference champion is going. That's it. Conference champ only. And you're looking at that with the ACC as well. So
could come down where aren't you the one that was saying last week? It's not, you don't automatically get in. It's the top 5 conference champions.
Yeah. And you got to be careful. I keep saying bid stealers. That's what I get worried about is had BYU gone undefeated and then Colorado comes in at the last minute and upsets BYU in the Big 12 title game. Well, then you'd have a BYU team who ran the table during the regular season, loses the conference championship. Are you really going to leave them out just because of a conference title loss when they were undefeated? Now that they've lost, it's easy. You throw them out if they get in. Same with the Miami Hurricanes. It's easy. You toss them out. They lost. They lost to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
So
there's Coach Prime's Colorado Buffaloes up to number 16, 8-2 on the year. You got to give the guy from the Aflac commercials some credit. You really
He'll be gone though. He's going NFL next year. He's out.
You think so?
I mean, Shadur's getting drafted, and there's going to be more NFL head coach openings than ever before. Like, I don't see how. There it is. BYU 14. Yeah,
you're a little ahead of me. So I see Texas A&M at 15. Still alive though because of the fact that if they beat Texas,
oh yeah,
and then they win the SEC, they're in. Yep, there's BYU at 14, down 8 spots, man.
And
fell out of the one loss when you play a weak schedule hurts you so bad.
It does. And it's who you lose to. They lost at home to 3-6 Kansas. You just can't do that.
No.
That's why I'm also surprised, if we're being honest, about Notre Dame. You know, you can't lose at home to Northern Illinois and be in the top 10. Like, them and BYU have the same record. Notre Dame's beaten who? Louisville and Texas A&M? I mean, those are 2 good wins. Well, Louisville's not ranked anymore, so they beat Texas A&M. BYU, their big win is SMU. That's kind of interesting. SMU's 13.
SMU's waited all these years to be able to buy players legally, and now they're finally back in the I mean, they're going to be vying for. See, I said buying, but I meant buying, but I really meant
Caught
buying.
yourself. Good job.
Buying for a national championship sometime soon.
Boise State comes in at 12. That's up a spot.
They lost one time to Oregon. Watch out for them. They need Oregon to win out, though.
So here's what's interesting, Mick, and we can't hear Reese because obviously we're talking and it would be too much. But here's what's interesting. Boise State is now the 4th highest ranked conference champion. And the reason that's significant is that means Boise State would get a bye. And the Big 12 champion would play in the first round. They would flip-flop on that. Also going back, South Carolina was 18, which is good for Alabama as well. Tennessee dropped to 11.
So that's
Georgia,
a big one. Georgia at 10.
Georgia jumped to 10. Ole Miss to 9.
So does that mean that so Georgia's in then? Is Tennessee out when they do this calculation, right?
Yeah, they would have to be because you've got 2 conference champions below them. Miami at 8. They've moved Alabama up.
Well, they should. I mean, come on.
They definitely should. I'm just
surprised. Realistic catfish.
I'm just surprised. I didn't know that the win over Mercer was the difference.
But people are seeing what this Bama team's all about, man. I mean, like they're coming together. There they are, Miami at number 8, and the University of Alabama at number 7. That means they're clearly in. They're up 3 more spots.
Yeah.
And I think that it's because it's becoming clear. Now, they got to take care of business. Don't get me wrong. But this is the right time to start to peak.
This puts Bama at the 8 seed in the bracket. Notre Dame is 6. I actually have a problem with Notre Dame being ahead of Alabama.
Right.
I understand they have 1 less loss, but their schedule is absolute crap compared to Alabama's.
Right.
They don't have near the same resume.
I'm pulling for the Army this weekend. There's Indiana at number 5. Can you imagine if the Army won again? And then they beat Nate. Can you imagine the Army-Navy game for the college football playoff?
So that would be amazing. So I've thought of 2 things with Army, and you just brought one up. One is that Army's undefeated. So if they beat top 10 Notre Dame, they go undefeated, right? Then do they jump Boise? But Boise's only loss is on the road to number 1 Oregon.
I know, but they're undefeated. If they beat Notre Dame, everybody's gonna look. First off, we're a patriotic country, and when you get a chance to chant USA, can you imagine that? I mean, like, it's not going to happen, but God, if it did, that would be incredible.
So here's my other thing: they do the playoff announcement on Sunday, December 8th. That's when the playoffs are set. Army Navy play on the 14th.
Oh, you're right. So it wouldn't be for
what happens if Navy upsets Army?
I know.
You know what? Like that can't
that is
happen.
so crazy, because wow. I don't think Notre Dame's going to lose that game, but man, if they did, it would be so interesting.
Well, Notre Dame is honestly a problem because they don't play a good schedule, and they're eating up a slot that the SEC or the Big Ten could have. If I'm a Tennessee fan, Tennessee's the first team out. If I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm pissed off about Notre Dame, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tennessee fans are griping about Indiana. The Indiana thing may or may not work itself out because Indiana plays Ohio State this week.
God,
And
look
so
at your Tennessee. You're ranked 11, but the number 12 Boise State's in.
So there it is. You see the point. BYU now plays in the first round because Boise State is actually a higher ranked conference champion in the polls. Obviously, they haven't played that, but all right. So Regis here dropping a comment and helping me out. I didn't know that they said this, and you can say that it's an exhibition game and that it's not going to have an impact all you want. People will lose their minds, though. Tennessee will lose its mind.
Oh, you're saying okay, I got you. Yeah,
if they lose to Navy, okay. I don't care if it's a scrimmage or if it's a battle to see who ends up in hell. People will lose their minds if that's the case. And I was off by one. Alabama's the 9 seed.
All right. So we got Ohio State hosting BYU in the first round. Oh, Bama at Notre Dame. Ooh, I'm going to that one. I will be there. Georgia at Penn State and Ole Miss at Indiana. So Ole Miss basically has a bye if they're playing Indiana. Like Indiana's they're gonna get ruptured by Ohio State this week. But I'll tell you what, man, like
ruptured. They're gonna get ruptured.
It's gonna be terrible. Watching, they're gonna end up like that homemade ship that was going down to see the Titanic.
Yeah.
They'll be like, like a guy with like a Xbox joystick, is like taking people down for $500,000. That's gonna be the same thing. But how about Bama Notre Dame in South Bend instead of Georgia?
Yeah, that would be wild, wouldn't it? Bama goes to Notre Dame. McElroy, and I'm not a huge Mac fan, but he I know, but he did make a really good point last week. He brought it up and said, look at all of the SEC teams that would travel north.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In December, right? Yeah. You'd have Bama going to South Bend, Indiana, cold as hell. Georgia going to Penn State, cold as hell. Ole Miss going to Indiana, cold as hell. Like, that's a brutal, from a weather perspective, slate for the SEC teams to have to go on the road to 2 Big Ten schools and then an independent. But that would be rough. Path-wise there, so you got BYU, Ohio State in the first round. Ohio State clubs them. Ohio State is set up ridiculously in that bracket.
And this is the truth: is that everybody wanted this.
Yeah.
And those first round games they're gonna be some of the biggest blowouts you're ever gonna see in college football. It's gonna be. It'll be
a couple of them will, but
like Indiana's gonna get. If Indiana was really hosting a first round game, people would be out of the stadium midway through the second quarter when they were down 35-0. I mean, come on, man.
Well, you get this. Ohio State, the way it sets up right now, would get to play BYU in Columbus, and then they would go to, what would that be? The Fiesta Bowl to face Boise State in the quarterfinals. I mean,
that's not fair.
Ohio State's got a bye to the semis, essentially. Bama goes on the road to Notre Dame.
Dub.
The winner plays Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
That's not what kind of seeding is that?
Bama goes back to the Rose Bowl in that scenario. Also, too, remember that Kalen DeBoer's 3-0 against Dan Lanning.
Oh, can you imagine that?
Kalen DeBoer's 3-0 against Dan
Lanning. I
know. Georgia, Penn State. The winner goes to, get this, Atlanta to take on Miami.
Who?
So Miami.
Georgia?
Georgia, Penn State. The reason is the ACC champion is slotted to the Peach Bowl. So Miami's going to the Peach Bowl in this scenario.
Yeah.
So Georgia, if they beat Penn State, essentially gets to come home to play Miami.
Wouldn't that be their luck?
And then
they better match us up with the ACC.
And then Ole Miss, Indiana, winner goes to the Sugar Bowl to play Texas.
Nice. It's fun, man. You know, it's fun. Indiana's not going to be in this. When they lose this week to Ohio
What do they have to lose by?
What's that?
What do they have to lose by?
Well, you saw where it says they're 97%. They got a 97% chance to make it. So I don't believe that. When they lose by 28, they're done.
That's because the analytics,
right?
Sit there and look at.
Well, what I'm telling you is, when they take that 28-point loss, they don't have to win, but they have to get over. You know what that means? Do you ever watch wrestling before?
Yeah, I still watch it every now and then.
Okay, so you watch a little bit of it. Do you remember when Stone Cold Steve Austin was coming up and he lost a match to the Heartbreak Kid? But he got all beat up, but he beat up he hung in there, and it was like an epic match. Remember the next day, everybody like, well, Stone Cold got over. He's talking crap afterwards. That's getting over. Like, you don't have to win, but you have to lose in a way where you're like, man.
So like,
I'll tell you who got over was Missouri got over in that game against South Carolina. They didn't win, but I'll tell you what, they played a hell of a game, and you're going, you know what? They're just as good. They didn't win, but they're just as good.
So so what do they have to keep it within?
They need to keep
10,
it with
14.
They got to get over. So if they lose by 14, but it's a 7-point game up until like the final minutes, they're fine. If it's one of those games where they're behind like 28 points early, they'll be first team out.
I could see
even
that.
With one loss, because they haven't played it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's like BYU losing a close game at home to Kansas, but if Indiana gets run out of the stadium, yeah, I'm with you.
What's it going to take for BYU to be out of this?
Well, they are out. The only reason they're in right here is because they're the highest ranked Big 12 team, so they're assumed as the Big 12 champion.
Oh, right. But
that's
Colorado
the only reason
beat them, right? Is it going to be them in Colorado?
Well, BYU's not even going to win. BYU won't even go to the Big 12 title game because Arizona State's going to beat them on Saturday.
So then what happens?
So then I don't know the tiebreakers in the Big 12. Haven't really dissected it that much, but I would say that you'd have probably Arizona State and Colorado fighting it out for the Big 12.
So can we all agree that we want to see the Army knock out Boise State?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the Army coming in?
I'm telling you, total chaos.
Not one person's on an NIL deal here. Not one guy is in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've said this before, though. Really, if you're Alabama, you want to be Georgia here. Like, you actually want to be.
It never makes any.
I know. I saw that.
Good job.
Yeah,
that's the quote of the day.
You really want to be Georgia because you go to Penn State, they suck.
Right.
There's nothing good about Penn State. Then you play Miami in the Peach Bowl. Like, that's the perfect path. As far as I'm concerned, that's the best path. And you avoid Oregon until the championship. Not that I'm scared of Oregon. I'm just saying, if you're going to avoid them, then wait till the end. This is an interesting one. Yeah, everybody wants the 5 seed. That's what I've been saying. The 5 seed's the best. Five seed's the best. You either want to be 5, 6, 11, or 12. That's where you want to be.
Because you're not that worried about Clemson, right?
Clemson. Who said something about Clemson?
Well, wouldn't that be who the ACC champ is that you'd play in the Peach Bowl?
No, Miami.
Oh, they got Miami. Well, Clemson's going to beat them.
Clemson won't even make it to the ACC title.
They're not. They lost twice?
Yeah.
Oh, they did. I'm looking at it right now. So who's it going to be? Miami?
I'm sorry. Clemson only has one conference loss, though. I believe that's right.
I'm going to look at their.
Pull that one up.
I'm looking right now. Okay, Clemson, so it's SMU. It's SMU 1.
Clemson has lost to Georgia and Louisville.
Right, but SMU is 6-0, so they still have 2 games left. Clemson's done. They're 7-1. Miami's 5-1, so they still have more games.
They do, but the ACC sucks, so I can't imagine it's anything
Wake good. Forest and Syracuse.
Okay, they're good.
Go ahead and give them.
Yeah,
I guess they're putting them in, and then SMU. So it'd be SMU and Miami.
SMU and Miami are going to fight for that ACC top. Honestly, SMU looks better right now.
At Virginia for SMU, and then Cal in the weird ACC conference. How about Florida State 1-7, 1-9 on the year?
1-9, they're terrible. This is the question I keep bringing up right here. That's the one for me.
What's that?
I just threw it up there.
Oh, if we lose the SEC championship game, did you see Lane Kiffin today? What he was talking about?
Yeah.
And
that's what I love about Lane is he tells it like it is. Because here's the thing right now.
When Mississippi State beats them, they're not going to even need to worry about it.
Yeah, right. Here's the whole deal with it is that as far as Bama getting in, this is everything I've read, researched, heard, so I hope it's right. But if Alabama is going to the SEC title game, it's pretty simple. Win out. And then really all that has to happen is Missouri has to either beat Mississippi State, who's terrible, or Arkansas, who's not very good. I won't throw them in the terrible bucket, but they're not very good. Missouri just has to win one of those games. And if they win,
Bama wins out, we're in?
Yeah, essentially.
Wow. How do you know this stuff?
Then it's just tiebreaker scenarios, strength of schedule, etc. So then it turns into who does Bama play? Well, if Missouri does that and Bama does their part, then Bama's going to play the winner of Texas and Texas A&M. Now, the curveball is Auburn. What happens if Auburn beats Texas A&M on Saturday?
Yeah.
Which is extremely possible.
Right.
So if that happens, okay, then you go to the Texas A&M game and say, all right, if Texas wins, it's Bama, Texas. It's still clear cut. It's Bama, Texas. But if A&M loses to Auburn and then beats Texas, you know who it is in the SEC title game?
Who?
Bama, Georgia.
Oh, really?
Rematch.
How about that? And do you want that rematch? I don't want the rematch there.
Nobody wants that matchup in that situation because then you've got the 9 seed and the 11 seed fighting each other for the SEC title. And who knows how shuffled it is at that point.
Yeah, right.
So, that's the other thing that Heather Dinich was talking to Pat McAfee about today is a 3-loss SEC team. And I think she's planting the seed more, not if Bama lost to Oklahoma or Georgia lost to Georgia Tech. I don't think she's talking about that. She didn't say it, but I don't think that was her point. I think her point was what we're saying, a 3-loss SEC runner-up.
No, right. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. A 3-loss SEC runner-up. What happens there?
So are they saying that, I know we've talked about it a lot, that they just need to sit, both of the teams that make the SEC championship game probably should be in, right? I mean, you shouldn't be penalized for that. But then again, how aren't you penalized for it? Because you're penalized for every game that you play if you don't win.
So I'm not doubting Regis here. I don't mean to call out Regis, but let me just say this. If Army Navy can play their game, like Army beats Notre Dame, right? Gets into the playoff and then lost to Navy, and it didn't impact their playoff seeding or just participation. But the SEC champion would get left out, or I'm sorry, the SEC runner-up would get left out. Like, it makes no sense to me. How do you come out if this is true? Okay, no offense, Regis, I'm just CYAing over here. If this is true, that it's an exhibition game, and they established that and said it has no bearing on the playoff, why can't you just simply back up and go, hey, to preserve the prestige of conference title games, we're going to take week 0 through week 13. That's 14 weeks of college football. You get 2 bye weeks, play 12 games. Your tournament resume, your playoff resume, your at-large bid resume is based on that. Those 12 games. I don't see how you can literally penalize. And I'm obviously people are going to say, well, you're saying that because it's Alabama. I'd say it no matter what.
Mhm.
I would say I would laugh if it was Auburn, but
What they might not let Army in even if they beat Notre Dame. Then they would
that's
just
very possible.
That's probably what happens because it's not like Army's going to have like power brokers at the table pushing, like.
Yeah.
But what a story that would be. I mean, if you're the Army, and I know I'm calling them the Army. I am calling them the Army. The Army comes marching in there and whoops.
Knights of the Hudson.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I'm gonna be. My dad was in the Army, 82nd Airborne. Okay, I'm pulling for the Army. I mean, he used to tell me the stories about being a paratrooper, jumping out of planes, and he loved it. And then I went to Fort Bragg, and I saw the guys doing it, and the plane's so close to the ground. I was like, man, I mean, it looks like you could just like throw a football in there, and these guys are jumping out. I guess that's just so they don't get shot, like you go too high and you're in a war, right? He used to talk about that. So I'm pulling for the Army. Your friend Ben George, his dad went to the academy.
That's right. I'm just scrolling through, checking out some reactions. Some of these are great.
Yeah.
Tennessee fans, by the way, have lost their minds. I mean,
it's only 1 week for Tennessee. All they got to do is just go out there and take care of business.
No, they need help.
Yeah, but something will happen. Something will happen. I mean,
it usually does.
I think Alabama is the toughest remaining schedule. Besides Texas.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama goes on the road to Oklahoma and they host Auburn. Georgia plays UMass and then Georgia Tech.
Yeah, UMass, they might as well not even show up. Like they have, it'll say like 99.9% chance, like, lightning strikes, 100% chance UMass loses. 100%. Like there's no way that they're going to lose.
Yes, of course.
And then Georgia Tech. So they're in the clubhouse. They're done. So they're in.
But that's what I mean. Like Tennessee's looking at it going, okay.
Ole Miss has to play Florida this week. And
Mississippi State.
Yeah. And I mean, that's pretty tough too, because they're not that good. They're not as good as your guy Joel Klatt thinks they are.
I would say there's Ole Miss, Florida, maybe Notre Dame, Army. I would say Bama, Auburn is more likely a loss for Bama than Bama, Oklahoma. Because Auburn's just being a rivalry game.
Good morning. I think you'd like this comment right here.
Yeah, of course. I
mean, you want to read it, Catfish?
Yeah, I've dropped mine. I've dropped my bombs on this show enough.
It's like, why the beep do they reward teams like Penn State for only having one loss if they play a schedule is equal to Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss?
You mispronounced
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
You mispronounced beep.
Yeah. The whole part about the Big Ten is that they stink. Like they have like very good teams at the top, and then they have like, it's not like they don't have an equivalent to Kentucky that beats one of the 2-loss teams on the road, right? They don't have an Arkansas that beats one of the 2-loss teams at home, right? They don't have a Vanderbilt that is like gonna run a triple option at you, and you beats one of the top teams. I mean, they like all the teams that stink are so bad they have no chance. They're not going to beat Ohio State. They're not going to beat Oregon. And Penn State is like the second tier every single season. That's the second tier this year. The SEC is great because just the reasons that I'm telling you, Bama's got to be ready to go. Is that they could lose both of these games. They got to play good football. They got to be prepared.
Oh, sure. I look at it and I'm with you on that. I mean, the Big Ten, like a team like Penn State just pisses me off. And exactly, Jackie's comment's perfect. Penn State, I am a Penn State hater. And I am because we've seen it's a tale as old as time with Penn State.
Since Joe Pa.
Yeah, it is amazing how they simply go 10-2 every year. and they miss out on the big games because they can't beat anybody. They beat who they're supposed to beat, but they get the preseason hype and they get the love. Like, honest to God, why are they higher than Miami? Because Miami's loss is worse, I guess. That's why. But why are they 8 or 4 spots ahead of Miami? Like, they're just not a good team. I don't understand it. None of it makes sense. And let's pick on the SEC for a second. Why is Texas as high as they are?
Because they started up there. They started up there. That's why.
Yeah, Texas's best win, right?
Because they spent a lot of money and they've got a Manning. They've got a Manning as the backup quarterback.
Texas's best win is Vanderbilt.
Did you know that there's 2 Mannings on Monday Night Football?
I've heard that.
And they're actually pretty good.
Yeah. I actually
I like Eli Manning better than Peyton.
Eli just always throws the little zingers in there.
He's so good. I like them both, though. I do like them both. I can't shit on Eli.
Yeah, they're great.
I mean, on Peyton.
I just look at it and Texas is just as baffling to me. Like, their best win is Vanderbilt. They got smoked at home by Georgia, and they don't have anything else. Now, they've got A&M in front of them where they can pick up their first top 25 win.
You're saying Kentucky's not going to beat him this week?
I'm going to go with a no. It's just
it was like that. It was like
basketball season in Lexington, man.
It was like, hey, we're gonna have Texas come into the league, and we're gonna make the easiest schedule for them to play, just so that they feel so good about themselves. Their network will be great. They'll be beating everybody. But they're gonna get done being like, oh, this SEC schedule isn't crap, man. We got this.
Yeah, it all around. And I was looking for any other storylines here, but it'll work itself out. Somebody else brought this up, and it could be interesting. I'm actually a friend of mine that I play golf with. He said this. He said, "Look, when the season's over, on the last ranking, the very last one, they'll put them where they're supposed to be."
Yeah, right. I know that's what happened last year.
You'll have the full body of work, and then you can say, "Okay, well, now that everything, the hay is in the barn, we know everything. There's no more games. This is how everybody's stacked up."
Right. And we're leaving. And when you guys get mad,
and we're out. And we'll see you next year. Yeah.
Hey, Steven, giving me some love for the stash. I'm sticking it right now. It's been hard. Sometimes I want to cut it. Sometimes I want to cut it. Sometimes I don't.
It looks a whole lot better than a week ago when you broke it out for the first time. Yeah.
Is it that you're getting used to it, or does it just look like it's just thick?
No, it's filled in. It's filled in a little bit. Yeah.
You got something there. You could go with one too. All you got to do is just take that out.
This isn't on purpose. I'm too lazy to shave. And
Well, roll tide, man.
I just do it. I shave twice a month. That's it. Any of these others here putting the loser. Yeah, see that same loser of a conference championship game, depending on how it plays out.
You're done.
I don't know. That's what I mean. Like, okay, so Bama loses to Texas on a last-second field goal.
I think they're out.
By the way,
what are you going to tell Tennessee they're not in? When they got 2 losses, you can tell. I mean, they're not going to.
Bama would only have 2 if they didn't go.
Were you surprised? First off, you saw the Lane Kiffin comment, right?
Yeah.
Were you surprised that Tyler Booker was like, "Hey, we came here to win"? I saw one today where Jahad Campbell was like pointing up at the wall, where all the numbers were. Like, that's why we came here.
I mean, but if you're on the team,
I love that. Let's put numbers on the wall.
Yeah, if you're on the team, you have to say that. I mean,
no, you want to win.
Yeah.
Or and if you lose, say you lose, you go down swinging, and then you're playing in the Cheez-It Bowl.
I was talking to my brother about
Alabama, Minnesota, in this year's Cheez-It Bowl. We'll be right back with the starting lineups.
Row the boat. I was talking to my brother. Mudcat. You've met that guy.
I've met him before.
You've met that guy, Mudcat. I was talking to him about this, and I said, here's the thing about here's the thing about it is that, yes, you don't want to miss out on a chance for a national championship over having to play for the SEC championship. The Natty's always, the ultimate goal. But at the same time, there is something about that SEC title. Like, there's just something about it,
Yeah, it's great. You get a ring.
And I do want to play in it. Now, I do want to go. I just don't want to go and then know that the outcome could impact your tournament.
Yeah, right.
But at the same time, it's so special to win the SEC title.
Think about some of the losses. The last time we lost, I was there. Tim Tebow and the boys got us in 08. That's
I was there.
And the Gators were the Gator fans were chomping in my face on the way out. So I didn't feel sorry for them when they lost the next year. I was there for that one too. But I remember us losing to Florida with like Freddie Kitchens one year, I think. Yeah. We got there, but we never. It was like years where we didn't really have a chance to win. For a while the East was a lot better than the West, which some people are going to be like, no way. Yeah, but that's true.
Yeah, when Florida won in 93 and 96, they were significantly better in those two games.
Yeah. Yeah. Lisa's saying that she thinks that ball fans need to relax. The tough part is without a marquee game to play, it's going to be hard to jump. But that Vanderbilt game becomes a lot bigger than it was, like in years past, because Vandy's actually pretty good.
Yeah, but Vandy got smoked by South Carolina.
I know,
and they kind of lost. They lost some of that little zing. Yeah, they lost a little sizzle on the steak. So they need LSU to lose to Vandy this week.
So who's Tennessee got left?
I forgot who they played. They played UTEP. UTEP this week.
Oh God. Well, you guys should have scheduled better. That North Carolina State game at the beginning.
The NC State game's not doing much for you.
Yeah, you should have gone out and played like Oregon or something.
Yeah, it's not doing much for you. I would say, Tennessee fans are obviously very stressed at the moment, for sure. But going back to that SEC championship, Mick, if you're being honest as a Bama fan, before that LSU game, you were thinking, crap, I don't really want to play Texas in the SEC title. Now I look around the SEC and I'm like, if my three opponents, the options are Texas, Texas A&M, and Georgia.
You take Texas out of that bunch. So do I.
I'm not scared of any of those three.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's not one where you walk in and you're like, ugh.
I just don't want to play Georgia again, though. That would be. It's tough to beat the same team twice.
It is. I would love to play a Texas team. We owe Texas one from last year.
Yeah, we do. I can still smell McConaughey. He doesn't wear deodorant, and he's just. I know he's a cool guy, and he's in a bunch of movies, but boy, woo!
Hey,
it's hot down there.
Hit that axe one time. Just tell me to hit that axe one time, man.
Yeah. Just like, what do you got against deodorant, buddy?
Yeah, chemicals, man. Chemicals.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be fun. It'll be interesting. There's only two more of these. Yeah. Well, two more and then the finale.
So let me throw Texas A&M into this mix, right? So basically, if Texas A&M beats Texas, we think that Texas is going to be past the Volunteers. They're going to be right at it. Does that move Tennessee up? But I guess that puts Texas A&M in, right? Pending the SEC championship game. So if Tennessee wants to get in, they need Texas and Texas A&M to both be eliminated, right? Texas in the whatever they call that game at the end of the year. Is there a name for the Texas A&M game?
No.
The Lone Star Shootout.
You can't say shootout anymore, man.
Yeah.
You can't say Red River Shootout. Yeah, you can't do all that. I mean, if you're Tennessee, you're pulling for essentially A&M to lose to Auburn. Like, if I'm Tennessee, this is what I'm doing. I pull for A&M to lose to Auburn. and then I pull for somebody to upset Bama, of course. But I'm looking at realistically, not that Alabama can't lose. I don't want to jinx them, but A&M lose to Auburn, and then A&M beat Texas. Like, I'm kind of focused there because then you've got Bama, Georgia playing in the SEC title. A&M won't be anywhere near the top because they would have lost to Auburn. Texas will tumble because they lost to A&M and won't make the SEC title game. And then you got Bama, Georgia, two lost teams playing each other. Because, see, if Texas wins out and plays Bama and then Bama beats Texas, Texas is still in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
right.
if I'm Tennessee, I'm just going through those scenarios of how do I eliminate everybody?
Yeah,
and
right.
I would think that's the best way for them.
Ryan's right. Somebody's got to keep Texas from winning the SEC in their first year. And who better than the Alabama Crimson Tide? I agree. I said it at the beginning of the season, and Clint Lamb, collaborated that the other day. I said it would be Bama and Texas. Now we still got to do our thing, and that's tough. We got to beat Oklahoma, and we got to beat Auburn. And I'm a little worried about Coach DeBoer and his first Iron Bowl because it's tough. It's just different.
It's tough. It's different.
Animal, but being at home and them stinking, I hope that he's a smart enough guy to know that you got to look at Auburn like they're Jason, like they're Michael Myers, like they're Freddy Krueger. I mean, you can't just like let them hang around and not kill them. You have to, you have to cut their head off and run off with it. You have to set them on fire. You can't in that game. You know what I mean? Like, don't think that your 13-point lead's going to hold up. You
do. Although.
Thank you, Brian, for the super chat, man, brother. Roll Tide.
I will say that I feel like Alabama has reversed the voodoo because 3 years ago, Bama went down there, down 10-3. Bryce Young drives them down the field, ties the game. They go to 4 overtimes and win, right?
Yeah.
Last year, 4th and 31. So it's almost like the voodoo has been flipped. I feel like the voodoo is going in the right direction now with Auburn. But I'm with you. And it's their Super Bowl. Hugh Freeze obviously hasn't been as successful as Auburn was hoping, but he's still Hugh Freeze. He's beaten Alabama before, beaten Alabama twice. So you still got to take them serious. Like, it's still the Iron Bowl. Mm-hmm. It's still everybody walks into that stadium with their backside clenched a little tighter every time, every single time.
One of Alabama's senators used to be a football coach at Auburn, and the guy actually won 5 in a row, 6 in a row.
Yeah, we got a thumb to protect this year.
Yeah, we got to pop this on them. Boop.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough, man. That is going to be – I think we're going to beat them. I think it's going to be a close game. They've had a lot of close games this year, unless we go in there and we just take it to them, and I think we can do that.
I want this week's Oklahoma game to be like last year's Kentucky game.
Right.
Where you go on the road, you don't play a very good team, and instead of letting the crowd like hang around and maybe be involved and, kind of keep it close and then something bad happen, you go out there and Jalen Milroe punches you right in the face.
Yeah.
That's what he did against Kentucky last year. I was scared of that game. 11 a.m. kick on the road, Kentucky.
I rember. You remember what I said.
You did. You called it because Bama went in there and it was 28-0 before they sat down.
If we get fair officiating, and that's a big if now because the officiating every week seems to be crappy. But if it's fair like it was at LSU, we're going to run them out of the building. I mean, it's we will. They can't protect the quarterback. We're going to sack them a bunch of times. We get some turnovers. But we got to get the fair officiating. What the one common denominator in all these games when we struggle on the road, it's like a lot of penalties. And that's why we've got to just, go in there and take care of business. I'm a little surprised though that Alabama's, having lost to Vandy, is still like a team that if they went out, they're going to go. But I guess it's just because we didn't play Mississippi State and we didn't play Kentucky. So those teams, I guess they go overall winning percentage and not just the SEC.
No, it's SEC winning percent.
Is it? Because the next two opponents only have one win.
I don't know. I didn't get out the Excel sheet.
Think about it. Now, Auburn. Now they play Texas A&M, and you said it. If Texas A&M gets beat, then it changes things.
Yeah, a little bit. It only changes it that it brings Georgia into the equation. That's all it does.
What about Ole Miss? What do they have to do to get in?
They're out.
So them losing to Kentucky's like devastating.
Yeah. Yeah. That was bad. That was real bad. I mean, Kentucky and Auburn each only have one conference win.
I know.
That's it.
Did you see and so does Oklahoma. And they were playing Auburn and threw the ball to Auburn. I mean, Auburn threw the ball to Oklahoma. And
threw a pick six at the end.
Yeah.
Threw a pick six at the end. Yeah. I mean, Auburn's only win is Kentucky.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, who can fall out of this? I mean, is there any team that besides Ohio State, we figure Ohio State's in no matter what?
I mean, safely in. Oregon's in. Miami could fall out. Texas could fall out. It would take either. See, that's what's weird. The way Texas falls out is if they lose to A&M. That's really it for me because they're not losing to Kentucky. I was going to say if there's a way they get 3 losses, but they can't get 3 losses because they wouldn't have played in the SEC title game. So the only way Texas gets left out, in my opinion, now is if they lose to A&M and they tumble. That would be it. So I'm going to say Texas is in, Oregon is in, Ohio State's in because they're not going to lose to. Honestly, what if Ohio State lost to Indiana?
Georgia's in then. You're saying, and Georgia's in.
I don't see them losing, so I don't see how they're
not going to go backwards. They're in.
Yeah, I mean Notre Dame's got Army and USC left. Ole Miss is in. Well, I'm sorry, they play Florida. I don't know. As far as like guaranteed safely in,
it would be so Lane Kiffin to lose to Florida.
It would. Honestly, I'd say Oregon and Texas. Ohio State losing to Indiana would be really interesting.
God, that would be. I can't even imagine that scenario. That if that happened,
who's Ohio State defeated?
Penn State on the road.
That's it.
But you know what? They got over in my mind playing against Oregon. They didn't win. And I'm going to tell you something. I think they're better. They just didn't win the game. They lost by 1 point.
I mean, yeah, I'm not trying to say Ohio State shouldn't be in. They should be. But I'm just looking at what happens in some of these. So if Ohio State lost to Indiana but beat Michigan, Ohio State would still be in. Right. So Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, all 3 safely in. Everybody else, you have some that are probably in, but those 3 are locks.
Yeah, see, this is what's going to happen too. Indiana's going to lose by 24 plus. Is there any way that 5 SEC teams could get in?
Yes.
So Tennessee,
Indiana getting blown out. That's how it happens. So either Indiana gets blown out or Notre Dame loses. That's how you get a 5th team in.
Okay. All right.
Because Notre Dame losing would knock them out. Notre Dame can't have 2 losses.
Right. And if they lost to the Army, oh my God.
You're forgetting USC, man. I mean, I'm not saying USC is good, but they got to go to the Coliseum. It's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
It'll be their Super Bowl. Lincoln Riley can figure out some stuff.
Maybe he gets lucky. But nothing will be better than them losing to the Army.
I'm with you.
Everybody has the same name tag, Army.
my favorite would still be nothing against Army. My favorite would still be Army beating Notre Dame and winning out and then losing the exhibition game to Navy. What would be great is if that all happened and then Tennessee got left out after Army lost to Navy. That would be epic proportions right there.
Well, look, guys, this was fun. I had a great time. Pearl River Resort. We're brought to you by Pearl River. Before we talk them, though, Kat, let me put you on the screen there. There's you in the flesh, and there's you down at the bottom. There's two catfish on there.
That's a cleaner cat down there, a little cleaner cat.
Tell them all about you, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Oh, wait a second. Boom, that guy.
If I sound a little hoarse or raspy, it's because so many people are trying to figure out how to refinance and get out of credit card debt right now. That's been the problem. So we've been helping families, lots of different things, from interest rates, purchasing, refinancing, cash out, just lowering monthly payments, home equity lines of credit, building strategies, saving money on taxes. We kind of have all these different angles. So that's my phone number on the screen, 256-509-8200. That's my email. I'm the one that answers this stuff. And we have a new book. I have a new book coming out in the next few weeks, and we'll get everybody a free copy who wants one. It's going to talk about home buying, home investing, all the good stuff. But if you have questions, just want to chat, go over your scenario, would love to help. We've been saving people on average over $600 a month with their refinances. So hit me up. Be glad to look at it.
All right, there you go. The Catfish. And guys, we're brought to you by Pearl River Resort over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Jake Coker and I will be there in the flesh. Kat will be on the video, but this Friday we'll be doing the show from Dancing Rabbit Golf Course at Pearl River Resort. So come over and hang out with us from 1 to 4. Thanks for watching the show, guys, and roll tide.
To Pearl River Resort.